Good afternoon. Doing well, doing well. Hope you guys are. Oh, yeah. It's a hoodie. Yep. Yep. That'll be part of uh, part of the merchandise rollout. That'll be shortly after the book release. So I'm excited, man. Great. Thank you, Kurt. I'm gonna bring up a slideshow presentation. So can you guys hear me okay? Okay, you can see the screen? Okay, good deal. Well, I just want to say thank you to you, Kurt, for extending the invitation, and also to the leadership team, the group that has invited me in. You know, I don't take this opportunity lightly. I'm excited to be, it's kind of home, right? I still work for Equitable. So what I plan to do today is tell you a little bit about my story, and also tell you a little bit about some of the things that I have going on. I got a book, as Kurt mentioned, I'm about to release, and in that, some of the things that I've learned actually at the company, and I'm going to share some of those principles with you today, and also going to talk a little bit about what I do at corporate real estate, and yeah, and hopefully I also put together a special piece just for the legal team. You know, I'm kind of excited about that for you guys, so it's customized. I'm not going to be here long. You know, it's a little bit after 12, so by 6:30, 7 o'clock, we should be all wrapped up. So, just kidding. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I want to start out by asking you all a question. Okay, so this is a rhetorical question. So don't blurt out all kind of crazy answers. You know, I want to start out by asking you all a question. How is it that, let's say, for example, a little boy, right? How is it that a little boy who starts out growing up on a farm out in the country, right? And when I say farm, not a rich farm, you know, because some farmers are millionaires, right? But a poor farm, like with government assistance type programs, women, infant and children, food stamps, that type of farm. Growing up without a father, right? Then goes to school, high school age, gets caught around the wrong crowd, right? Just kind of lost his way, trying to fit in. Where does he go from here? How does that young man then try to focus in school, but really sees himself differently? Doesn't really see himself as the learning type, if you will. So he ends up failing the 9th grade. Gets out of high school, and then he goes to college because that's what he's told, right? You have to go to college if you want to make something of yourself. You have to get a college degree. But he flunks out 2 different times from college. So he starts with low-paying jobs, right? Because he's got low skill, low education, just high school education, and no college degree. So of course he starts at the bottom. Then he gets his foot in the door at an insurance company. But still starting at the bottom there, not even as an employee, but as a third-party subcontractor. But 10 years later, ends up becoming the facility manager of one of the largest life insurance companies in the country, a global brand, if you will. How does this happen? Well, that's what I'm excited to talk to you guys about today, and I wrote a book about it. And hopefully, some of the life lessons and the principles that I've learned that you guys will be able to apply in your own set of goals, dreams, aspirations, whatever those are. All right? So let's talk about this background, okay? So as you can see here, this is a picture of my family, right? On the left is Big Mama. That's what we called her. That's not her birth certificate name, but we called her Big Mama. She was short in stature, but the look on her face says everything. You know, she kept us in line, okay? On the right is my mother, Vanessa Massey. That's me with my arms folded behind my back and the little bow tie. And you can see some mischievousness on my face already at a very young age. And then that's my older brother behind me. So we grew up on a farm, and some people, their family dynamics are different, right? Some people grow up talking about everything. Hey, how was your day? How do you feel about this? How do you feel, right? Then there's other families like myself. We didn't grow up talking about anything except chores and homework, right? Boy, did you take out the trash? Did you get your homework done? And any type of rebuttal, or even sometimes asking questions for clarity, was perceived as disrespectful and talking back. So I grew up without a father, and there's some statistics. It's somewhere, this like the statistic is like 10 years ago, 60% or above, 10 years ago now, of single parent homes in the Black community, it's over like 60%. There's a lot of different factors that go into that. My situation, my father, he was killed in a tragic car accident, unfortunately. He had just left our house. He had just dropped off diapers, visiting us, visiting me. He had just left the house. On the way back home, drunk driver hit him, killed him, head-on collision, 24 years old. And I was only 9 months old at the time. He was 24. He's gone. So I grew up without a father. Now, my mother and Big Mama, they did everything they could from a female and raising perspective on trying to raise two boys, right? I still kind of got into stuff. I wasn't a bad kid, very religious family. We were in church like every Sunday, right? Even if you were not going to miss church. I mean, you'd have to be dead to miss church. And even if you were dead, they do the funeral in the church. So you still wouldn't miss church. So this is how religious our family was. So I wasn't a bad kid, but I just got into stuff. And so I can remember a time period to where some of the things that my mom and my grandmother ingrained into me at a very young age, and I write about this in the book. The story goes like this. I was probably like 3rd or 4th grade, and we didn't miss school, okay? I have several perfect attendance certificates. You know how at the end of the school year, some kids will get straight A's, they get a certificate for that, and some kids would get A's and B's, they get a certificate for that. Not me, okay? I got the perfect attendance certificate, right? And there was one time, I used to remember kids talking about when they were sick, they would stay home with their mom. They would talk, sometimes they would miss a day, sometimes they would miss 2 days, they'd miss a week, and you'd come to find out, they come back the next week and they're like, what's wrong with you? Oh, I had a cold. You're like, are you kidding me? You stayed home for a week with a cold? So I used to hear these stories and I was a little bit jealous. I was a little bit envious. They would have chicken noodle soup. They would sit on the couch. They would watch Disney movies, right? Very touchy-feely. And in this one particular story, it stands out in my mind because I used this principle throughout life, okay? So here's the picture. Our bus used to come about 7 o'clock every morning. School bus used to come and you can hear like the brakes, right? As it gets closer and closer. So one morning I get up, I'm eating breakfast and my stomach is just kind of upset, right? And it's just like boiling, like a pot of grits. It's just boiling. Something doesn't feel right. So long story short, I know it's lunch and learn. Some people are eating possibly, so I won't get too graphic, but I had to go to the bathroom and it wasn't pee-pee, okay? So use your imagination. So I'm sitting there in the bathroom on the potty and I'm picturing what's gonna happen next. Is this gonna be a time period where I get to stay home with mom? Maybe I get a chance to watch Disney movies. Maybe me and mom maybe she works so hard, maybe we can just hang out. But what happened next is what my mom ingrained to me. And man, years later, I still get emotional about this. So she's cleaning up breakfast. She comes into the bathroom to find out what's going on. She looks around and she sees a mess, like a mess. And my mom, she's very even keeled. She doesn't freak out. Her emotions not too high, not too low. She's a straight business, right? The bus pulls up in the driveway, at the mailbox rather, and my mom starts running. She runs out to the door and she says, wait 1 minute. Don't leave, wait 1 minute, my son's coming. You wait 1 minute. She runs back, she gets another pair of pants. There was brown corduroy pants, I still remember this. She gets me cleaned up and she looks at me in the face and she says, you're going to school today. Just those few words, you're going to school today. Those few words, it wasn't so much as what came out of her mouth, but most language is nonverbal, right? Over 60 to 7% of our communication is nonverbal. What it said in her face is, there's going to be difficulties in life. There's going to be days where you don't feel good. There's going to be times where you feel like emotionally you don't want to go on. Physically, you don't want to go any further. Spiritually, you feel like you're just depleted, but you have to get up and you have to keep going. And I would offer that same word of encouragement to you guys today. Principle number one is just keep showing up. Okay? Just keep showing up. Times when you don't feel like it, you feel like you've had enough, you feel like you can't go any further, just keep showing up and resolving in your mind that I will survive today. So fast forward a little bit to high school. I was a clown in high school. There's no bones about it. I get to high school, I get to ninth grade, and there was two things that kind of stood out in my mind. The first thing that stood out about high school to me was it's so big, right? There were so many people. There were students everywhere. They were all different ages. Some of them were driving cars. They were athletes. You know, it was just so many people. That was the first thing that stood out in my mind. The second thing that stood out in my mind was these girls are gorgeous. I was like, they look completely different than these middle school chicks that I've been chasing. Like, this is crazy, right? So I was focused on the wrong things, okay? I end up trying to fit in. I don't know if you guys have ever had a time period in your life where you're trying to feel your way around. You're not sure, you're just trying to feel it out, and you don't know where you fit in, right? And we say it all the time. I tell my kids the same thing. Just be yourself. That's a lot harder than what we make it out to be. Especially when and I agree, we should just be ourselves. But when the world around us is trying to make us conform to their ways, it can be tough. So I struggled with this. And in the ninth grade, I failed the ninth grade. I completely let my grades go, focused on trying to fit in. It's really the girls' fault. If they wouldn't have came and looked so beautiful, I would have been able to focus on, I'll take no responsibility whatsoever for my action. I'm just kidding. So this was a tough time for me. I failed the ninth grade, and I can laugh about it now. But back then, when I failed, I felt stupid. Now, I know I didn't do my work. I didn't study. I know, I get it. But I felt stupid. Have you guys ever had some mistakes that you made or you made a few failures and it's just all consuming? You know what I mean? You just carry that weight. That's what I did. I just felt like this mistake was so big, I can't get past it. And one of the words of encouragement that I would give you all today is, mistake or failure, it's an event, it's not a destination. Sometimes we wear these failures like a bodysuit. And we feel like, you don't understand, my mistake, my failure was so big, I just can't get past it. How do I go past from here? How do I keep moving forward? Well, you have to think about people like a Thomas Edison, who've had thousands, over 1,000 failures before he comes up. Is that Edison or Einstein? One of them that invented the light bulb. I get so excited when I think about this. There's a rub here because we either decide to keep going or we wear this failure like a bodysuit, and we feel like mentally we can't go any further. And sometimes it's years before we get past it, if ever. KFC, Colonel Sanders, he's trying to make this recipe. Hey, I got great chicken, turned down time after time after time again. And we wear these failures, but listen, it's an event, not a destination. And when it's time to move past these failures, how do we look at it? Okay, true. Call it what it is. You messed up. Okay? What I had to do, I had to get on the freaking summer school bus. People laughing at me, the same people who I used to make fun of, guess what? I'm on the bus with some of them. So if I call them stupid, I'm sitting right beside them on the summer school bus. What does that make me now? I had to have a reality check, right? I had to call it what it is. In order for me to go to the next level, in order for me to go to the next grade, I have to call it what it is. I failed, I didn't do my work. Now what? We have to call the situation what it is, but don't make it worse than what it is. Okay? Call it what it is, but don't make it worse. Just because I failed in ninth grade doesn't mean I failed high school in general. I got a chance to bounce back, right? So I had to start associating with people who actually did care about grades. You know, some of them were athletes, some of them were mathletes. I had to change my circle of influence, who I hung around, and the people who failed their grades, the people who didn't care about school, yeah, I got ridiculed for not hanging around them anymore. But guess what? I'm trying to move forward, you know? And we have to decide who we're going to associate with, because this is principle number 2. Who you associate with determines how high you fly or how low you sink. Like, that's the bottom line. Who do we have in our ear, right? Who are we taking advice from? Like, you guys are a legal team. Like, people rely on you for expert advice, right? And you advise them and they're able to make decisions, huge decisions, right? So if they ask Joe Blow, who's never taken a legal class whatsoever in their life, hey, what do you think I ought to do, Joe, about this legal situation? Well, I think you ought to just say screw it and just ignore the whole thing. Not the best advice from Joe, okay? Who you roll with, who you associate with determines how high you fly or how low you sink. Now, as I got a little bit older, I tried to go to college. As I said, I flunked out of college. So I talk about this more in the book. I talked about my college experiences. I saw myself as that failure, and it took time for me to get past that, right? So I had to start with low-paying jobs, right? I had to start at the bottom. And this next particular principle was what I learned. Actually, it was at a church. So relax, it's not going to be like a whole religious segment, but I just want to let you know where I learned this principle from and then where I applied it in the corporate setting, okay? Very basic. So here you see 2 military guys. Here you have somebody who's in charge, somebody's giving orders, and a secondary person who's listening to the order, okay? At this particular church that I was at, there was a leader there, right? You know, you have different volunteer positions. You have an usher board. Sometimes you have a parking team. Sometimes you have different places to serve. You have a children's area. You have all kind of different places that you can serve. And normally there's a leader, right? And then of course you have associate pastors, there's all type of different people that help move this stuff forward. Nonprofit organizations are the same. For-profit organizations are the same. There's leaders everywhere, right? So in this particular volunteer position that I had, this particular principle, it really unlocked some things in me. It actually unlocked a skill that I didn't even know that I had, okay? So this was the premise on what they said your job is to do. They said, Jamil, your job is to focus on the little stuff so the leader can focus on the big stuff. I know, it's revolutionary, right? It seems like it's logic, but how many times everybody's trying to go for the big idea, the big this, the big that, but there's details that matter, right? It's almost like the analogy with the pebble in your shoe. One little small pebble can have you walking sideways, you're about to fall over because that small pebble is causing so much pain on your foot in your shoe, right? So you have to take that small detail out, remove that from the equation. So back to the church story. So as they were telling me, focus on the little stuff so the leader can focus on the big stuff, right? For example, if we were in a staff meeting and they said, okay, there's some pretty big stuff going on. We have to worry about, John such and such, he's had some health challenges. We need to see what we can do to take care of him and his family, right? Okay, agreed. Let's get John squared away. There is Martha such and such, she's had a job loss. We need to see what we can do to take care of Martha such and such. The small detail that did not need to be added in was, there's toilet paper that's out in the bathroom and somebody needs to restock it. What? Listen, Do you not realize the stuff that we're trying to worry about? We can't be worried about toilet paper when we're talking about just health issues, job situations. Like, now trust me, toilet paper in the bathroom is important. I'm not minimizing that. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, in the midst of this larger scale meeting, a big picture meeting, some details, they empower you to just take care of it, okay? So fast forward to me getting to Equitable, right? As I explained earlier, I had to start at the bottom there. So third party, subcontractor, I was on the maintenance team. So you guys in some of the corporate sites, you may have seen them doing meeting setups or coming to fix your monitors on your desk. You know, we work closely with IT. But for me, I had this situation to where I started out with no maintenance background, by the way. I didn't go to shop class or any secondary school or anything like that. We started out changing light bulbs, right? We started moving tables, doing grunt work, sometimes unclogging toilets. We worked with the janitorial staff. So it wasn't always pretty. I started at the bottom, right? But over a little bit of time, I'm going to church, and this volunteer organization I'm seeing here, they're saying, take care of the little stuff so the leader can take care of the big stuff. And one day, this was about 2-3 years later, you guys, I'm sure you would have got it much smarter than this. It would have been obvious for you guys. I know. I'm just telling you my story, okay? Eventually, a light bulb went off inside my head and said, let's see, there's a leader here at the church. I have a leader at work. Maybe the same stuff at church, the same principle at church can work in a corporate environment. So I said, let me try it out and see. So I started looking for opportunities to where I didn't just wait to be told what to do. I went and I started finding out information that I could and then bringing that back to the leader so the leader can make decisions, right? Not toilet paper type decisions, but a project that I knew the leader was working on, and it might have been some inside information to where they hadn't thought about it yet. Oh, down the road, we'll find out this. Down the road, we'll look at that. I figured, okay, if I have the time and the capacity now, let me go ahead and start researching it. So the next time we start this in a meeting and we're talking about it, I have some value to add. So I started to go from somebody who's just waiting to be told what to do, scared to mess up because I've made failures before. And sometimes it's embarrassing to kind of put yourself out there. It is. You make a few mistakes and you get a little gun shy. But this unlocked my eyes and my mind to say, this is a different way that I can add value. And over a period of time, I started doing more stuff. And as I was taking care of the small stuff that I was given more, right? So sometimes we try to get out there too fast and they're like, hey, I want to do all this big stuff. Wait, you hadn't handled the little stuff yet, right? So as I took care of small stuff, I got more responsibility. I got more skill development. I got more experience. And then over time, I got more money, okay? So this is principle number 3. Take care of the little stuff so the leader can handle the big stuff. It moves you from a place of waiting to initiative, being proactive. And I know some people, this is already their natural skill set. You don't have to tell them much at all. They're running down information already. That wasn't my story, but it opened my eyes to how I could add value. There's so many details that can bog a leader down, so many that they feel like they can't even verbalize because they're putting out fires, right? So just being able to see that from the leader's perspective and having a little bit of empathy, like, they got a heck of a lot going on. Maybe they're taking care of big stuff and I can handle the small stuff, or I can at least find the information that I need, bring the information to them. So if it's just a yes or no answer from them, for them, they can tell me the yes or no answer and they don't have to dig and do the research and yada, 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 right? Now, it doesn't mean that the leader is not gonna pay attention to small details. I'm not saying that at all. The leader has the right to look at the situation because they are ultimately responsible for the whole thing anyway, right? That's one of the things my former boss taught me. He mentored me and he said, it's not what you expect, it's what you inspect. So when you think you empower somebody to do something, and you just double check it to make sure your explanation and the way they're delivering it, make sure it matches up. Okay? So those are 3 out of the 10 principles that I have in the book. Guys, if you want the other 7, you'll have to get a copy of the book. Now I'll talk a little bit more about what does a facility manager do? What are some of the things that we do as facility managers? So some of the things that we do is a lot of times we're boots on the ground and we do some coordination. So for Charlotte, for example, this is a picture of, the top picture is the old logo. I know, I gotta be careful. I have to put the new logo there too. This is just an example. I know we have to get rid of AXA, get rid of AXA. This is just an example. So sometimes we implement the signage, right? We implement reaching out to the vendors, coordinating with them. We still do have, project teams and signage companies. So we're part of a team, but a lot of times we're boots on the ground to make sure that it actually gets installed, taking it from theory to reality. Okay, that's one example. What's another example? This is a picture of our newest building, building 7207, different type of furniture. So one of the things about furniture, it doesn't just show up at your desk, right? It's not, we don't buy stuff from IKEA. We have furniture vendors that we have nationwide contracts with, and the different styles of furniture. Sometimes we work with design architects, right? We've been working with the same design architects for over 10 years, and they're very knowledgeable, and they look at the latest and greatest, and they look at industry-wide, worldwide, what are some of the greatest things that could be offered, and we also look at how it would work for our business areas. So these are pre-COVID pictures, so I don't want anybody to freak out like, oh my gosh, everything's open, what are we gonna do? Stay with me. These are examples, okay? So furniture is one of the things that we do. Meeting setups, I mentioned it earlier. If you guys going into a room, right, a larger meeting room, and it's set up one way, and then you have another meeting a couple weeks later in that particular room and it's set up differently, somebody has to physically go in there and change those meeting setups, change those tables and chairs around. This is one of the things that I did very early on, and now I have a team that reports to me, and they do table and chair arrangements. Every once in a while, I'll still pick up a couple chairs, just to let them know I still know how to put a chair and slide it underneath the desk, right? Construction. So we, a lot of times, work with construction outfits, the electricians, the guys who hang drywall, the data and cabling guy, we're in on that project team to get construction completed. And, I'm the facility manager in Charlotte and Syracuse. There's Kim Labazetta in Jersey City and Newport. I work with Mike Raffanello, and in 1290, there's Danny White. Those are my counterparts, my co-workers in the other sites. So that's some of what we do. There's a lot of things that we do, but big picture wise, and then we also manage the space, right? There's seating allocations. Sometimes there's a business area that needs X amount of seats, and they might restructure a team and they might need to move people to a different location. A lot of times our team is the group that goes in and move you from A to B. And we also work very closely with IT as well. Okay, you guys good? You still with me? This part here, this is for you guys, okay? So in thinking about your team, right, the legal team, I put together an acronym, right? And the acronym is legal. So I believe that the more we're able to implement these few principles, it's going to be able to take you guys to the next level, okay? Okay, the L in legal. Okay. One thing that we have to be mindful of, and this is not just limited to the legal team, okay? There's so many thoughts that go across our minds daily, anywhere from 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day, right? And 80% of those thoughts are negative thoughts, just by default. Our minds are designed for protection and perseverance. That's how we're naturally wired. So we have to intentionally think about positive stuff, right? If we just leave our mind to default, they'll go crazy. What about this? What about that? What's going to happen here, there? And we can get consumed by it. So one of the things that I would encourage you guys to do is make a habit of when they come about, and there's times when they come about, you can't prevent them all. I'm not saying that, but there's going to be times where we have to let go of negative thoughts. It's part of the package. It's not just limited to the legal team. It's all of us. We have to let go of negative thoughts. We have to let them go, right? Negative thoughts, negative paradigms, negative mindsets, just things that get in our ear it's just negative, right? Sometimes we just got to let them go. They're not adding any value. They're not serving us in any way, and there's times where we do have to be cautious about certain things. We do have to be prepared, yes, but we can't be consumed by negative. Stress is still, it's unhealthy, and it has all these aging effects that it takes on our bodies. So one of the first things I would say do is let go of negative thoughts. Once we've let go of negative thoughts, the second thing to do is embrace the new opportunities. Virtual show of hands, how many of you guys over the past few months have had to embrace some new changes, right? I'm standing here, I'm in one of my kids' bedrooms. We have 5 kids and a dog now. I know, I'm a glutton for punishment. So before this call, I had to say, okay, listen, everybody go to your quiet places. You're in school, you're supposed to be doing schoolwork anyway. I've had to embrace times where I'm working from home and we're also trying to juggle the kids. I'm there too. We have to embrace those. If we fight against new opportunities, we miss them. We miss chances. There's times, listen, I can't see all your hands, but how many of you guys have had chances to take a walk with your family or by yourself just to get away? Time to have to yourself where you're not commuting, right? In the New York metro area, you guys are commuting all day, an hour to 2 hours one way. Good grief. And then you got to come back home after working all day. But now you have to embrace and leverage these new opportunities, because there's times now to where I'm actually, just the other day, I was helping my 6th grade daughter with one of her writing assignments, right? Now, keep in mind, I was the one who failed in 9th grade, right? And I wore that failure like a bodysuit. So fast forward later, as I figured out, I just learned differently. It doesn't mean I'm stupid. I just learned differently. And that's different is okay. So now I'm, after learning differently and getting to a point where I'm writing a book, and over the past year, I started this project a year ago. Didn't happen overnight. I've been working with an editor, right? And they've pointed out things, they've raised my awareness to different things. So at least on the 6th grade level, I can help my daughter. And I said, baby, this little small thing, this is a new opportunity, so don't miss this. This little small thing, it touched my heart, it really did. I said, so what'd you learn today? So thinking that it's gonna be something about grammar, thinking that she's gonna remember every name needs to be capital, stuff that I thought that they would be learning anyway. You know what she said? She said, Daddy's not as dumb as I thought he was. Now I can take that 2 different ways. Like, what do you mean not as dumb? What? They know I'm writing a book about me failing the 9th grade. So the big thing is the failing the 9th grade. But when I can add value to my daughter, that's a new opportunity, and I have to embrace it. Okay? It really, and as a dad, right, I'm helping my daughter in a different way. More than just providing, a house and safety. She felt supported. So embrace new opportunities. Okay, G in legal. Now this is a big one too. Practice gratitude daily. Okay, practice gratitude daily. So there's different forms of this, whether you're doing yoga, whether you're meditating, or whether it's prayer, whether it's just deep breathing. The more you practice gratitude daily and just slow down and just be thankful, that helps you to it's a different feel, it's a different energy level that you have to do what you have to do in the course of the day. And also, when you're interacting with other people, let gratitude be an action word, not just lip service, right? Show thank you versus just saying thank you. Practice gratitude daily. Okay, the A in legal stands for assess, okay? Assess your BAU. BAU, as we know, is an acronym, business as usual, right? If you guys have been living under a rock, we've had to assess and do some things a little bit differently over the past few months, right? It's really, you have to assess what's working. And sometimes you might need a new BAU based on new information. But if you're not checking the pulse on your situation, you're not gonna know. You'll just be blind, and then we'll become the story like Blockbuster, right? Netflix, out of nowhere, they skyrocket. Blockbuster, some people never even heard of it, younger generation. Assess your BAU, right? Your processes, whether it's you as an individual or you as a corporation or an organization. And last but not least, lead boldly and courageously. Lead boldly and courageously. Now more than ever, we need bold and courageous leadership in uncertain times, right? And the more we're able to lead boldly, like we still have to keep going forward because we have families, we have jobs, we have organizations that leadership is needed now more than ever, okay? And I believe the more we're able to lead boldly and courageously in the face of uncertainty, the more our followers will have confidence in our leadership. Doesn't mean that you know everything, doesn't mean that you have a crystal ball and you can predict everything. One thing I know for sure, this year has kind of knocked us all on our heels, right? Let's just call it what it is. It's knocked us all on our heels, and we've still, in different ways, we're trying to recover. But I don't know how it's gonna happen. I don't know what it's gonna look like, but it's gonna come to an end, right? And we will be back to somewhat normal, right? We have to be, people are resilient, okay? And the leadership is gonna be key in this bounce back that we're gonna do. So it's gonna be challenging at times, but we still have to push forward. So here's our acronym. We have to let go of negative thoughts. We have to embrace new opportunities. We have to practice that gratitude daily, assessing your BAU and leading boldly and courageously. And I want to leave you all with these last two thoughts, two major leadership questions, okay? What kind of leader will you be at the end of all of this? What kind of leader will you be at the end of all of this? The second question is, what kind of organization will you be leading, right? We have to continue challenging the status quo. We have to continue looking to see what's working and what's not, and be comfortable making the bold and courageous decisions. And the more we're able to answer these questions, the more we're going to be able to go to the next level. I just want to say thank you guys again for this opportunity. You can feel free to follow me on social media. I'm at J Massey Speaks, and be on the lookout for my book, High School No Fool. It's going to be coming out in the next couple weeks. So with that, I will turn it back over to you, Kurt. Sure. So the first part of it is for my team. So one of the things that I've had to do with my team is, and the team that I work with is the maintenance team. So they come and do some of the meeting setups. They come and do some of the desk moves from one cubicle to the next, or workstation rather. Cubicle is an old term. And also I work with security. You know, they don't ultimately report to me, but day to day we're in close contact with each other. And so what I try to put on the front of their minds is the fact that how much of a change it is for you guys as the business area. So you guys are our customers, okay? We're not reaching out to different clients. We're not reaching out to people outside of the organization. The more we can serve you guys as the business area, again, this is focusing on the little stuff so you guys can handle the big stuff, right? That's what I try to put customers, I try to embed customer service in every aspect of what we do, knowing that you guys have major decisions that have to be made. You have deadlines, you have projects, you have events. I try to put that on the forefront of their mind and let them know, like, listen, you know, Sally Joe Henson might be wigged out a little bit today, okay? But keep in mind, there's been a lot of pressure, there's a big push, whether it's debranding or signage or what have you. I try to put that on the forefront of their mind. And so as far as asking you guys what you guys could do to help me is understand sometimes we don't just come up with rules and parameters. As a legal team, you guys would appreciate this, right? We don't come up with this stuff just for the fun of it, right? A lot of times it's risk management, employee safety that we're looking at, awareness, you know, so it's not like we're looking to nitpick to get on somebody's nerves. We're trying to keep, again, the employees, the business areas safe so you guys can do what you need to do. Hey, Mike, good to see you. Good to hear it. Thank you. So our biggest challenge has been trying to get ready and get the space ready as if it's fully occupied, knowing people are not going to come until right after Labor Day or January now. You know what I mean? We have to pretend it doesn't matter. If one person shows up, we need to be responsible for that one, have signage in place, hand sanitizers, instructions to make it so simple and safe as much as we can't prevent every scenario, but as much as we possibly can, we want to try to get that infrastructure in place so it's easy for people. Again, to take care of that, it seems like it's a little detail, but it's important, right? For people to walk in and know how does this work, right? How do I stay safe in order to do my job? So I think that's been the toughest thing. Is it's almost like you're getting ready for a game and you're not sure when the game's going to start, right? You're trying to prepare from an infrastructure standpoint, communication standpoint, partnering with different business areas like HR and the re-entry team, and trying to get them the latest and greatest information, reaching out to vendors as our vendors are kind of scrambling on their heels, right? What's the new and latest and greatest cleaning policy in case we have some type of COVID case or a scare or whatever? How do we get everything cleaned up, safe, and peace of mind so people are not worried and completely unfocused on their job because they're worried about the environment? That's what I would say, Mike, is probably two of the biggest challenges, is to try to be prepared before the game starts, so to speak, and also trying to make sure that we're getting the information from our resources and our vendors to be able to provide that to the re-entry team so they can make an informed decision. Good deal. Thanks, Mike. I think you're muted, Kurt. Correct. Mm-hmm. Great question. So I deal with this all the time. You know, if you're not failing in some respects, you're probably not learning. So to answer your question, if you're having a one-on-one and somebody has had a failure, they've made a mistake, and they're gun shy now, right? They want to be courageous. They know they still have other tasks to complete, but it's just in their head. One of the things that I try to do is not to minimize their experience, but I try to maximize their perspective, right? So on one hand, you can't just go and say, well, John this and Sally that, and everybody else's situation is worse than yours. You can't start out with that, right? You have to, and this is relationship 101, right? Business relationship or individual interpersonal relationship. You have to meet people where they are, right? So sometimes we have to come from whatever positions that we are. And honest, I mean, you guys, if anybody's being honest, we've all had some type of failure. It might have been different ways, different formats. We've had some type of failures. There's no way to get to the levels that you guys are at without doing it. I applied at Equitable 2 years before I got the job, and I was turned down for the job. Then I came back and I got a different position, again, a third party subcontractor, a position opened up. This job was the pay was less than what I was making currently, but I had to take a risk. So I'll use my mom for an example, and I'll try not to make a whole separate speech out of this. My mom had my brother when she was in the ninth grade. 15 years old, ninth grade, she had my brother, right? So she had to repeat the ninth grade because time-wise, she had to have a baby, She came back, she had me when she was 20 years old. So fresh out of high school, okay, I made a mistake a few years ago. I'm getting a fresh start, bang. Look, you have another baby. And babies don't just show up, by the way. You have to do what it takes to make a baby, right? We're all big boys and girls here. So she had two major bad calls. Let's call it what it is, right? These were bad calls. Even with doing that, she still had to go. She had to work. She had to provide for us. She went back to school. She didn't go right to college right away. She worked and provided for us. She ended up being the first Black female manager at her Charlotte Pipe and Foundry. They make PVC pipes and stuff like that. You probably heard of it, in Charlotte. Yeah, she's been there 44 years, right? And she's got 2 degrees. And she doesn't have a husband, and she raised 2 boys. So again, you have to meet people where they are, hear it out, right? What are your concerns? You're concerned about what? Me as a manager coming down on you if you make a mistake. Try to understand what that fear is that they're concerned about. Let them verbalize it and get it out, right? And then kind of take them through the process of going to the next step. Then you can talk about, maybe your own personal situation. If you're the one having a one-on-one, just relate to them. Hey, listen, I kind of feel similar when I made a mistake. I dropped a ball here. I get it. But you have the capability to do X, Y, and Z. You have the capacity. Sometimes we, as leaders, we have to see things in people that they don't see in themselves. So that's my 4-minute answer on that question. Sorry about that. Okay. Mm-hmm. 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 Great question. So I would clarify, I don't know that I was leading my manager until much later on, until he was taking more of a back seat. He saw that I was able to handle the responsibilities and the roles that he had given me over a period of time, right? I didn't just get it right once. I showed that I could handle the job. What I did was, within the same confines of my responsibility, I saw what he was being asked to do. I started to get a better understanding of what his needs were and what he was ultimately responsible for, right? Some of you guys have some big umbrellas, right? It's just a lot, right? So what I started to see and understand was, what's some of the small stuff that I can handle under my umbrella that can roll up to his, right? And I stopped looking at only my box like, I only want to do this because if I do that, something might happen. This is true. Something might happen, but something great happened. The fact that I made mistakes along the way. There was times where I wasn't sure. There was one story. There was one time where I thought he would say okay to something, and this was a couple years later. So this wasn't like week 3 on the job. Like this was a couple years later, after I had started doing project management type stuff. I thought he would okay something, so I okayed it. And then I came back and told him, and he said, "You did what?" I was like, I thought you, no, yada, yada, yada. And he gave the rationale behind it. So what I started to do was thinking, okay, that's a little bit out of my scope. I see there's a request there. So I'll gather as much facts and much information as I can, bring that to him so he can make more of a yes, no decision versus let me go do all the legwork, do all the digging. I got to stop this major stuff that I've been working on just to get up to speed on whatever the heck, you know what I'm saying? So I brought the information, put it to him on a platter. He was able to say yes or no. Then he empowered me over time to say yes to this person or yes with these parameters. You see what I mean? So I would say, as far as the agile part of it is, part of the challenge is you have to, there's risk and reward with going outside of your little box. You have to be more focused on the reward than the risk. And I'm not saying, and I know this is a legal team, I have to be careful. You can't go crazy willy-nilly. When I say risk, I hope you're not missing the point. But if you're talking about individual performance, trying to add, John Maxwell all the time talks about adding value. I tried to look for more and more and more ways that I could add value. And then over time, that turned into more responsibility, promotions, and where I am now. Hi, Lori. So I'm supposed to get the manuscript back tomorrow from my publisher. So what we've tried to do is, I could have released it back in June. So this is project-based stuff, right? So you can either release it and it be okay, not too bad, and you can call yourself an author, right? Or you can release something, take the time to do it right, and try to add as much value as possible. So I'm thinking in the next couple weeks it'll be on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. Those are definitely the 2 platforms that we're going to use. But in the next 3 weeks, we should have it out there for you. So hopefully it'll add value to you and many others. Certainly. Great. I appreciate the invite again, Kurt and Mike and all the leadership team. Everybody's got a story. This is just mine. So hopefully my story can continue to add value, and I look forward to hearing about some of your stories as well. All right. Thank you all. Talk to you soon. All right. All right. See you guys. All right, see ya.